My name is Reverend Casey Taylor. I use they, them pronouns. Thank you for joining us for Spiritually Uncuffed live in the room at Project 3810, which is 3810 North Tulsa in Oklahoma City, or joining us online, either live or after the fact, knowing and trusting that we are all exactly where we are meant to be at the perfect time and in the perfect way. So as you can see, this is our second week in this space, and February we're going for cozy vibes. I got my cozy socks, my soft warm blanket, which I'm just keeping in the office so that I have it for every single week. And Deanna's here who's doing a sound bath for us. Come on in. There are plenty of cushions available. We provide some cushions. There are some yoga mats that you can just take and stretch out on. Get comfortable. This space is your space as we are being welcomed into Project 3810 for our very first time here of experiencing Spiritually Uncuffed here on Sundays. That this space, for us to get cozy in it, to me feels like a nice little welcome. You know, March we're gonna get up and be in seats and be in tables and do some live music for March. So I like that we get to be on this side of the room for cozy and go over there where the projector is. So because we're doing cozy with no projectors, I am going to invite you to repeat our vision and mission statement after me. I'm going to say it little by little and invite you to repeat it. If it doesn't resonate with you, don't say it. Affirm what feels good and what feels right for you. If what I say goes, that's not what I'm doing here, then don't say it. You be you. Spiritually Uncuffed means you get to show up however you feel most comfortable and most authentic. So, our vision and mission is, we are a loving, inclusive community.
We are a loving, inclusive community.
Joyfully expressing spirit.
Joyfully expressing spirit.
We honor, celebrate, and support.
We honor, celebrate, and support
each individual's awakening to their spiritual magnificence.
Each individual's awakening to their spiritual magnificence.
We empower each other.
We empower each other
to create happy, healthy, abundant lives.
Healthy, abundant lives.
All right, you all affirmed that. I'm here for it. Thanks for being a part of the spiritual community and doing that, and supporting each other in awakening to our spiritual magnificence. I'm here for it. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being a part of this community. And I mentioned last week that I had a conversation with one of our community members, James Palmer, who's been a part of this community for a long time, much longer than I have. James, I would love actually if you'd share how long you've been with this community and present with us whatever it is you'd like to present today.
Okay, I've been with the community for 56 years.
56 years. I did not even know that would be the answer.
I have to say, thank you so much, Casey, for letting me do this, because I've learned so much the second week of things I thought were true but were not true, which is okay. It's like going back in a time capsule, trying to remember what happened, years and years and years ago, but it seems like I don't have Alzheimer's, because I remember things I didn't want to remember. So, last week I started out being from the age from 1 to 16, my life, and this is 16 to 36 of my life. And I have to say, I just have to be blunt with things, because what is better more than the truth to be said than not say it at all? So, at the age of 16, I was reading a magazine called Confidential, which my mother always got. And I bought it at a drugstore because in the article it says people who are, or what are homosexuals, and it had one page, and I read it, and I said, oh my God, I think that's what I am. Because I was already, but I didn't know it. So I just okay, I'll just have to accept it because, I am. So I just going to live with it and not deny it, or you say hide in the closet. So I took the book to the counter and I turned it upside down because I was thinking the woman would say, why are you buying this because of this article, because of the front page? Well, she didn't care or anything. It was just me thinking, oh my God, everyone's going to know now. So after that, I kind of learned and accepted it. So during this time, I have been taking piano lessons because my daddy bought my brothers the whole year to play piano for a teacher. And at this time, my mother became an alcoholic when I was 16. And the only reason why I knew because on Saturday night, I always wanted to go to the preview, and she said, no, you're not going. She said, take your sister and you go to the preview tonight. I said, what? Oh my gosh, we get to go to the preview? And she said, yes, and when you get through, catch a cab home, which we live 4 miles out in the country. And I said, well, that's odd. So anyway, went to the movie and got home, and I just kind of wondered, where's Mom at? And about 6 o'clock in the morning, they came in and they were laughing and everything. And then I think after 2 or 3 weeks, it kept going on and on. I kept going to the movie on Saturday night. So then I realized that she had been drinking, and because it just was a dead giveaway then. So anyway, she called for an Indian man from Florida, a medicine man. He came all the way up, and he had this little black bag. Now, at the time, The Exorcist wasn't out. So I thought about it now that it was like The Exorcist that he brought a bag. But he went around the house chanting and everything and doing the special weed or whatever. And the thing was, if she never drank within a month, she would never drink again. And the day before the 30 days was up, she drank. She never stopped after that. So it gives me ponder to think about, was it really true that if she went another day, she would never drink again because of the Indian man? So in playing piano, I played for the seniors at high school Prompt and Circumstances. And the next day they said, what were you doing? That was more like a speed up march because I had to speed up the music up sort of da 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 da. So I said, I just want you guys to get to the stage and get through early. So I quit 2 weeks before school to be with my mom to try and help her. And because of her becoming alcoholic, she had to be appointed a guardian. So when she wanted money, she had to ask for it. And in the long run, we all had to ask for money because we had an Indian agency. And you had to go there and ask for your money that was yours, and you had to explain to them why do you want that money. So if you were taking a vacation, that'd be okay, but it was still your money. So it was really bad during that time. And she would buy groceries, and she'd go to Dakota Town, which is right there, and she'd just give them groceries for a pint of whiskey. Because we were going home over the railroad tracks, I learned how to drive, and I heard this sloshing. And I said, what's that? And she said, well, I don't know. Of course, she had a bottle, and then later on I found it, and I emptied half of it and poured water in. And later on, I heard her go, ah! She found out it was not pure alcohol. So anyway, I used to do things like that, but, and then my last piano recital, my teacher, Mrs. Cheney, she said, you're gonna be last this year. I said, wait, I'm gonna be last? She says, yes. I said, but you saved the best for the last. Well, you are the best. And I said, okay. So I picked up a recording of the Ritual Far Dance by Oscar Levant. And I listened to it and I played it. I played what I heard, so I got up on stage and I sat down and I started and finished. I missed one note, and that was the last note on the piano, so I did it again. So I walked down and I sat down, and my teacher says, stand up and turn around. I said, well, why? She said, you're my first student that has ever had a standing ovation.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, I didn't understand that at the time, because I'm so naive. I'm still naive. But anyway, I learned to accept it later on in life, that was a gift that I didn't realize I should have enjoyed at the time. But later on, I did enjoy, that I accomplished something, not knowing that I did. So, and then when I had my graduation, my mother didn't show up. So I was very disappointed, because I'll never have that in my life again. Like most people do, that their parents are there, or an aunt, or whoever. So anyway, I got over that, and then when I went to prom night for graduation, my mother said, catch a cab and be home for midnight. So I didn't get to do what other kids do, after midnight, running around and drinking. I didn't drink then anyway. So after this, I went to Bacone College, which was a 2-year college, and it was all Indian college. 200 students in Muskogee, Oklahoma. Now, what's so funny is that my thought or my learning was that they filmed that at Bacone College with Burt Lancaster for, now I forgot his name, Jim Thorpe. Because the original college, Indian College, Carlisle, I thought it had burned down. So because of that, I looked it up, and it didn't burn down. The government closed it down. I said, oh my God. I said, if it wasn't for Casey, I wouldn't have known that. I would have lived with that for the rest of my life. But it was okay. And it was Jim Thorpe, you had to watch it because it's part of the orientation. And Jim Thorpe is considered a legend for his extraordinary athletic abilities and for breaking numerous social barriers as a Native American athlete. His achievements paved the way for future athletes of diverse backgrounds. And when I went to college, I met so many different Indians: Pawnee, Kiowa, Creek, Seminole, Apache, Comanche, Quapaw, Ute, Sioux, and the list just goes on. But I learned one thing, when I was growing up, my mother taught me not to associate with white people, associate with Indians, and to marry into the Indian culture. So when I went to Bacone, I realized that that's not true. The Indians are just as bad as the whites because they had attitudes and stuff. And so I just then accepted anyone and everything. They were okay. It just kind of like, well, what's the difference? We're just all the same in a sense, but different in different ways. So I dated 3 Indian girls at the same time, to the movies and dances, and we ate at the lunch hall, and then eventually I picked one out of 3, which was kind of they understood everything. So when I picked my fiance, Betty Jean Arquette, they just went on their way. So, I remember when I picked her, it rained on us. It was just a slight rain. I didn't think of anything about it until just now. I mean, I'm thinking about so many things like, why was that? Was it a blessing? That it just rained a little bit and then that was it. So, anyway, we got married, but my friends at college says, give me your shoes, we're gonna shine them so much, you're gonna see your face in them. And I said, okay. So when me and my fiance got to the altar, we had to kneel before the preacher. And when we kneeled, everyone started laughing. And they were just laughing out loud, and I was kind of, I looked at Betty, and I looked at the minister, and he looked at me, and so, what I found out later on when I kneeled back in my heels said, "Help me," was written on the bottom of my shoe. That's the reason why they were laughing. But also, after the reception, they had painted on my car, Hot Springs. And I said, "Well, we're not going to Arkansas." Because, you know, Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I realized, oh, Hot Springs, when you go to bed that night. So I was just kind of like, okay, naive again, you know. So we stayed at the Indian Princess Motel in Oklahoma City. And we used to go to, there was an amusement park, Edgewood or something, which is no longer here.
Wedgwood.
What was it?
Wedgwood.
Wedgwood. Okay, I was close.
Yes, you were very close.
And so when I was there in college, I met Dick West, who was a famous artist, Indian artist, who's in Who's Who. His wife had cancer, and of course it was a Baptist college, and he painted a big picture, bigger than these pictures, probably like that board up there, of Jesus and two thieves on a cross, and there were Indians. A Mohawk and another one didn't make me. And then he painted Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. And his wife recovered after he did the paintings. And lived as long as I know, since I left the college, but I belonged to a choir called the Indian Red Man College. So I joined the choir. We got to travel through the United States every year. We went to Washington, D.C., Daughters of American Revolution Hall, sang, and we got a lot of donations. And the guys would have at the end of the thing a ceremony where they all dressed in their Indian costumes with the war paint and everything. And they were actually scared. They thought we were going to attack them. That's how naive they were. And then when we went to another state, we parked and got out, and the girls came out of the drugstore crying, and I said, "Well, what's going on?" Says they won't serve us. I said, "Well, why?" He said, "Because we're Indians." So we told our choir teacher, and she told the church that the choir will not be singing as they would because they're hurt and everything. So on all the trips, we had places to stay with people who belonged to those different churches. So we moved to stay with this one home. The guy said, "I'm not staying in a house with a bunch of savages," and left. So the wife kind of apologized, but we did not feel comfortable at that time. And that went on for 2 years. And I met Kelly Haney there, who was a great artist, and he did the statue on top of the Capitol building here in Oklahoma City. Now, prior to becoming principal chief of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma in 2005, Haney served in the Oklahoma Senate from 1986 to 2002. During his tenure in the state Senate, he served as chairman of the Senate Appropriation Committee. From 1980 to 1986, he served in the Oklahoma House of Representatives, becoming vice chairman of the House Appropriate Committee in his second term. He was the first full-blooded Native American to serve in either house of the Oklahoma legislature. Early in his career, he had served the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma as a tribal councilman, band chief, business consultant, and planner. And looking this up, I didn't realize he died 2 years ago. Because when I came to the city, moved to the city, he got me my first job. And then I saw him maybe 10 or 15 years ago at the casino. I was playing next to him, and then we didn't know we were each other. I said, how you doing? He said, I'm doing okay. And he kind of looked at James. I said, Enoch. And that was it. So when I married Betty Arquette in 1963, we moved back to Wewoka. I did some grocery work down there, and then we moved to Oklahoma City. Long story why, but I won't mention it. And when we were there, I quit the Baptist church, and our little girl was born named Cecilia Margaret Palmer. And me and my wife used to go to the Zepper Room up on 36. It was a bar. We won dances after dances after dances after dances, and the prize was beautiful liquor bottles, expensive. And we would go home and pour the liquor out because we didn't drink, and just put colored water in them, and we had all these glasses throughout the house with colored water. I bought my friend Juanita up, and she went with us, and we won that night. And when we came home, and I was pouring whiskey. She said, "Stop!" I said, "What? Don't pour that out. Pour it in a fruit jar and give it to me." And I said, "Okay." So, have you been doing this all the time? I said, "Oh my God." So we didn't think it was pork because we didn't drink. So we won the alligator dance, and because of that, they took a picture of us, which they put on the outside marquee of the bar. And said, "What do you call yourselves?" I said, "We're the Action Kids." And we were both up like this, doing a dance, and it stayed up there. Cute. And the band was called Jim Egbert and the Roadrunners. And we were in college. They showed up at Muskogee. We went down there and saw them. They remembered us. And then the following week, they were back in Oklahoma City. We were coming back down. We went over there, and they saw us again and said, "Are you following us?" I said, "Yeah, we love your music." Because it was so great. Their songs were so great. So anyway, we climbed, or me and my wife climbed the world deck behind the Capitol. We just decided to climb up it, which is against the law. But we didn't think anything about it. But that was fun. We divorced twice. I became a go-go boy, and then a female impersonator. That's a long story, but during my first job, I drove a van and delivered toys and stuff to drugstores from Saul Kaminsky, who was on Harvey Street. I worked at the Huckins Hotel downtown. I was in the front newspaper because I was working there, and a man came in, and I worked for a lawyer and a congressman, and I had moved across the hall to work in bookkeeping. And this guy came in, went in the office, and then they drew the curtain, and all of her, there was like I thought it was a back bar, because there was an alley and there was a truck that delivered stuff. Well, the guy came in and had shot my boss. My boss came running out into the room we were. There was a room here and a room there. And he said, "I've been shot." And everyone was like, "What?" I kind of said, "I had shot, And the guy came out, I forgot what his name was, but he tripped and fell. And Cecilia was my boss. And there were 6 people, and they all ran out down towards the other way. And she said, "Now, you don't want to do this." She said, "Get out of the way or I'll kill you too." So at this time, I went to the back room, and there was a closet where we kept our paychecks, just enough to stand in. So I wasn't going to run down because it was all glass. And I thought, this guy saw me, he'd just start shooting. So I hid there, but when I did, the shooter was over here, and Bill was over here on the phone. Of course, he was calling, call the police, and of course you have to watch this. There was a woman, she must have been 80, she's all pretty, said, who is this calling? What's the problem? Kind of like you see in those movies, So he saw me, and then he ran in front of the desk, and I know that this guy shot him in the face. So it wasn't a big, big gun. I don't know what kind of gun it was, but, and then my boss ran across the hallway. Well, he didn't run down the other way, I don't know, but he came right back into the room and pushed the guy that was shooting him. And then the guy shot him in the back 2 or 3 times. And he says, I'm going to reload to make sure that you're dead. So the guy went up front, and the guy was breathing there. And I went up to the front desk, and the shooter was up there. And Cecilia says, can we get you anything? You want water or orange juice or a drink? Because she knew him, you know.
Oh.
So he just put his gun down. The police came and went back, and my boss had died. So we went to court and everything else. And what happened, my boss, the lawyer, had called his wife a lot of names, and the guy who was doing the shooting was dying of cancer anyway.
Wow.
So he just went down and killed my boss because of what he said. But all this time, I was not disturbed or anything. It was just something that just happened. You know, you just took it and went on with life. So that was another thing. Even though I divorced my wife twice, I still dated her until the end that she left, and she moved to Washington State. While she was up there, she got killed in a car wreck. So I adopted my daughter out to her parents because she would have been more comfortable there because she had been with them, and I didn't have a job and I couldn't support her or anything. So in the long run, I'll come to that next week. I'll keep that in mind. And also at this time in 1970, I met Charles Lamb, who didn't belong to the church, but was in the church, and he said, I want you to go to church with me. And I said, no, I'm not gonna go to church. Well, it's not that kind of church. And I said, the church is a church, you know. So about 3 months later, I saw such a great change in him, and he was just happy all the time and always helping. And so I got dressed up and I walked outside the door. He says, where are you going? I said, I'm going to church with you. And what happened, he had to see me when I was dancing, doing drag at Lee's Lounge on Paseo Drive or Street. And he said, I have a place to rent. And I said, well, I don't have a job. He said, well, if you get one, I have a place to rent $75 a month for 1 2-bedroom, bedroom and a half. So I went out and hustled and got a job in 2 weeks. And then I went to work, and when I went to work, the guy said, do you think he'll like to work here? And I said, well, yeah. Well, we don't allow any drinking on the job. And I'm kind of like, well, why would I want to drink on the job? Oh, because at that time, most Indians, when they worked, they bought their bottles and they drank on the job. So anyway, I got inside after a year to work on that order desk, and then I told the woman I like to use her typewriter. She said, well, why? I said, because I'm going to type something. Well, you know how to type? And I said, well, I type 80 words a minute and speed write 100. And she didn't say anything. So after I got in and worked here for a year, when I went to church, Dr. Turner was a speaker. He spoke on love, and I said, I belong here because these people think like me. So I've been with the church since all this time and loved every moment in it. I took the treatment class. That's how I got a car, I bought his car. I was going to go to California, and I told the woman who didn't like me, I said, I'm going out there and I'm going to become the boss. I'm coming back here. I'm going to be your boss. She said, oh, no, you're not, because I'll quit. I said, well, don't worry, because I'm going to fire you anyway. So, but that was the first job I had to deal with prejudice. That, they just didn't like me because I was an Indian. And they didn't think I was smart enough, you know, and when I got the job inside, I said, now, Mr. Palmer, you're gonna have to change it and wear suits, you know? And I just said, I have more suits and stuff than you do, or anyone here. Because I went to business college at Drotten's on Broadway. And I learned everything, how you dress, you know, and everything. And so it was no big news to me, and I had the money to do it with. So in 1973, I moved to California, and next week I'll tell you what happened there.
Oh, thank you.
James, you didn't know that the theme for this week, it just turned out this way, the theme for this week is You Are Enough, the Art of Happiness. And one of my favorite experiences of ministry is recognizing that everything is exactly the way that it's supposed to be, that all of the right people are showing up at all of the right times, doing all of the right things, that my job as minister is not to tell James what to say, it's to empower and amplify voices from this community. And I'm grateful that I was called to it. I'm grateful that you said yes to it, and that you've chosen to move through it in this way. That our original discussion was about it was about land dedication, but I said I don't want it to be land dedication. Like, you do you, whatever it is that feels right for you. And what felt right for you is for you to share your story, and you really are an expression of the art of happiness within this community. So I'm so grateful for how beautifully that it aligned, that I don't know, I'm not orchestrating what we were doing here today, but I'm creating space for the conversation. So I'd love for this portion for us to talk about recognizing that you are enough and practicing the art of happiness. If you know me, you know that I live my life living each day as the best day ever, that I started this concept back in 2015, and that I was tricked into it in the most beautiful way, where the person that I was married to at the time, we'd heard this story, went to our spiritual center, the Global Truth Center, where I studied to be a minister in LA, and the minister gave this message about what if you lived each day expecting to have the best day ever. And at that time in my life, I was not happy with how anything was going. I wanted to work in Hollywood. It maybe been a year and a half or something around the time that I was going through this. So I was trying to get a job, couldn't find one anywhere, and just really frustrated. And after this message, my partner at the time, her name is Ronnie, said, "Hey, do you know what day it is?" And I was like, "No." Like, checking my calendar, like, what? And she was like, "It's the best day ever." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I fell for this over and over and over again until I got to this point of remembering that it's the best day ever, no matter how things are looking. And this energy has brought me through some really difficult things. And I get criticized for it a lot, because people are like, every day can't be the best day ever. Some days gotta suck. And I'm like, when those days suck, what makes it the best day ever is the way that I responded to it. The fact that I didn't let these events completely unravel me, or they took me out of my comfort zone, and I made this decision to heal, to rest, to take care of myself. And I'm celebrating myself. So for me, like, even though it was not the most comfortable day ever, best day ever does not mean the most comfortable day ever. It just means that I am celebrating the fact that I am alive despite what is happening in my life, and to recognize that every single challenge is an inspiration and invitation to consciously connect with my understanding of the presence of the divine on a deeper level. So I'd love to hear from y'all. What does You Are Enough mean for you? What does practicing the art of happiness mean for you? Know that nobody's expecting you to be an expert in this. If you're still in a messy place around practicing the art of happiness, your voice, whatever you have to share about it, is welcome and encouraged.
I definitely like to believe that optimism is our superpower, especially in a world where, even in news, it's just such low vibrations and keeps you in this limiting box of self-doubt and fear. And for me, I just feel like it's more energy to be in that low vibration, to stay there, to be in a fear-based space. And it takes less energy to be, I don't know, optimistic or have trust or have faith or just be, you know, some people, I definitely rub the wrong way of just like they say I'm naive, but it's like, well, if that's what it takes to preserve my love and joy in a world that's very chaotic, so be it. Like it helps me to exist with an open heart even in the most challenging of times. And when those challenging times inevitably do come, I don't give away my power to it because I have this this love. My cup is full that I'm able and capable to pour into whatever it is I need to work on, and I also know how to build it back up. So I like to say optimism is our superpower, and any way that you can nourish that and fill it up and sustain it, but then also pour into others, it'll take you way further in life than to be, you know, Oscar the Grouch or something, you know.
Kind of on that, since I started coming here, and just talking about how like our consciousness is all related, and you know we're you know of the same, you know what I'm saying? And so I found myself at the store yesterday thinking, oh, you know, Saturday, well apparently everyone else shops on Saturday, and it was just so crowded, and so I was just, normally that stuff just makes me really anxious, and it's like I can choose to be grumpy and uncomfortable, but I went in there and just took a breath. We're all there, none of us want to be there, we're all getting in each other's way, we're all in the same boat, and it just felt good to just, you know, get all the way through, check out, and normally when things just, you know, irritate me or whatever, I'll just keep looping it. I'm a looper, and yeah, just I've been better about that. Whether it's on the road and, you know, going home, we're all in the same boat, and just stay, like you said, staying positive and optimistic, and getting through whatever's stressful, and not letting the negative rule on my day. Just choosing to be happy, and then ever since I moved here, choosing to be grateful every day. The fact that I have a job, I was unemployed, my kids are in a better place, and just, you know, I'll stand outside just every morning while my car is warming up, and it just starts off my day, you know, and just starting off with gratitude, and I'll do some morning prayers. It wasn't until I started coming here that I started praying for people that wronged me in the past. I felt better about it. Like, okay, my energy is, you know, spreading happiness to others who, you know, they were able today or whatever. Like, well, whatever's going on in their life, you know, sending my love. So that makes me feel real good too, is, you know, happiness, trying to spread it, and the love and everything. So.
I like that you use the energy of like compassion a lot to like hold the space, like even in the grocery store when it's really challenging, it's like you lean into, instead of like frustration or irritability, you're like compassion. You're like, okay, we're all in this together. Let's make this as, you know, pleasant as possible, and like no one wants to be here, you know. So even that gratitude and compassion on even the days where you feel not super joyous is like just the fuel you need to set the tone for the day.
Yeah.
I feel that happiness is that you learn it through your life of things happening to you that make you happy. And then you learn what happiness is, and then you turn around and give it to other people. When you meet anywhere, I've always gone out, when I go shopping, I have a conversation with a person I don't even know. We start talking. We talk like for 30 minutes. And I know all about her husband and her children and everything. And it's like pass it on. Not everyone is going to be the same. It's just do what you can out there. And every day when you wake up, you're happy because what you're going to do for today or what you're going to do next week or next month or next year, because I always plan ahead of what I want to do and I look forward to it. And when I go to bed at night, I'm happy because I've had a good day and I'm so blessed, more than a million and millions of people, because why? I have my hands and my legs, I can see, I can hear, I can talk, I have a roof over my head, and I have people who love me, and that the world could be so great if everyone thought like that. We wouldn't have any wars or negativeness, and then we will be in heaven.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, James, because I believe that what each one of us is doing here is living by that example. And the fact that this room is not overflowing, and I'm not saying that like because of me and my marketing skills, but like, you know, like these opportunities, this concept of spirituality that we are practicing together, this experience of spiritual community, like this is not an innovative concept. You know, like to meet at a time and have a conversation and have a sound bath later, like there's no innovation involved in this, but we are the people in this city that said, this is what I want to do on a Sunday. I want to experience, I want to receive some spiritual food that I can take with me out into the week and into my community. I want to connect with other like-minded people and pray with them and live by example, showing up as somebody who is practicing the art of happiness and identifying whatever healing that needs to shift within us to operate from an understanding that we are enough. That despite the fact that we live in a world that has all kinds of messages that contradict this to be the truth of our lives, that we do the best that we can to commit to our own healing practices, to lean into it and trust Spirit to guide that flow. So what I think I'd like to do is end with the sound bath meditation. We're gonna pass the baskets and do our abundance affirmation. I'm gonna give y'all some announcements because we got a lot of things coming up, and I feel like if I tell you those things after a sound bath, it's not gonna register. So, and I'm grateful I've done enough sound baths with Deanna to know you don't do any announcements after that sound bath. That's not the thing to do.
Not if you want them to be heard and understood.
Exactly. It defeats the whole purpose.
Otherwise, it's like a
It's Charlie Brown adults all over again.
That's right.
You picked it right out of my mind there.
I mean,
Here they are. Do your thing, Mary Lee. So I'm going to invite you to speak the abundance affirmation with me. And again, if it doesn't resonate, don't repeat it. Do what feels right for you. And give how your understanding of Spirit leads you to. All right, here we go. I live in abundance.
I live in abundance.
I am filled with abundance.
I am filled with abundance.
I give from abundance.
I give from abundance.
And it transforms my life.
And it transforms my life.
All right, so right after this today, our Leadership Council meeting is happening. We've been like, is it 12:15? Is it 1? I don't know, but I do know somewhere between those 45 minutes we're meeting. So if you would like to join us, our Leadership Council meetings are open, and that's what's happening right after this in this building. I brought food. I made like lentils and vegetables. I know you want some, so even if you're not staying for the Leadership Council, I got it going in the crock pot back there. And so that's happening right after this, sometime between 12:15 and 1. Reverend Sue Ellen, Reverend Dr. Sue Ellen is teaching foundations class. And, you know, for some of you who've just gotten here and you're like, what is this? You know, like, foundations is what this is, where we came from, how we got, do you know how old the Center for Spiritual Living is off the top of your head? Because, you know, James has been in this community for 56 years.
No.
I would say it's like 80, 90, something like that. 80, 90, something like that. This center, the United Life Center for Spiritual Living, is celebrating its 70th year today, and it is in my understanding that we were the 5th organization to be licensed as they like created charter. So our charter date is after we started because they didn't have charters until then. So we are, you know, who we are in rebuilding this legacy, each one of you being called to rebuild and experience a renaissance. Like we are leading the shift. And I'm not just saying this in the sense of like saying things. I'm saying it like the larger organization is really looking at us. I've been invited to do a lot of conversations. I'm starting I didn't even put this in the announcements, starting a show called What's Up and Why on a New Thought Media Network that's coming up in March. I will have more details about that. Now that I'm thinking, I need to let y'all know I'm doing it. Put that on here. But we're doing some really, the example that we are setting, the entire organization, the global organization is looking at us and this community as an example, because the rest of the centers look like the way that church has looked for hundreds of years. And what we're doing is different. So we're really blazing the trail and setting that example across the world. So Reverend Dr. Sue Ellen is going to teach you the foundations of what Science of Mind is, where it came from, and do you want to talk a little bit about the class since you're here?
I can. The class is particularly about the foundations of the practices, the principles that we're going to use. I have, I think, 6 people already that are going to be a part of this class. It is not a free class. There is a fee, $265. That does include the $45 registration fee that goes to the home office. Should you ever, in your wildest imagination, determine that you want to be a practitioner, as Mary Lee did, or a minister, like Casey and I did, this is one of those classes that you have to take.
And let me be clear, when I took foundations in 2009, I was confident I would never be a practitioner and minister, and I didn't need that certificate. So clearly, I would say you don't ever know what direction life may be taking. And so it's always handy to have certified things when you've taken them and done the education.
That's true.
So
if you're interested, it starts this Wednesday. You will need the Science of Mind book, but there's a particular edition, as opposed to some of the editions have different page numbers, and you want one that matches the curriculum that says read pages 372 to 385. If your numbers don't match up, then you're off reading something totally different. So you want the right edition.
I've never had the right edition, and
You survived
that's
it
just been a
anyway.
life. It's been a struggle, but I've never had the right edition.
And I have 3 copies of the right edition, and they don't look anything alike. And they don't look like the one that they're selling now. So somebody asked,
Revised.
does yours look like this? And I'm going, no, because I have something totally different. But
When I looked up the
get with me.
ISBN, I had Barnes & Noble look up the ISBN that you sent in the email.
Yeah,
And they were like, oh, this was printed in 1997.
yes.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay. So they're like, we don't carry it in store. I'm like,
Okay, noted.
Okay.
noted.
Anyway,
Yeah, so y'all figure it out. I've been using my Kindle version of this book and never been aligned with any teacher ever, and you'll figure it out.
Well, the one that I gave to Basil, I used when I took foundations in 2000. And,
Yes.
so you should be good.
Yes, I was
yeah,
told that. So
yeah,
yes,
Right.
I was worried about that.
yeah.
All 3
Yeah.
of mine, even though they're totally different, have the same page numbers of the different editions. But they are the same essential format. You can get a book now that is the original version, which is not the one we use for teaching, and the one we use for teaching together in the same book. But they put the original one first because it was written first, 1929, as opposed to 1938. And they're very different. It's worth having it. And that means the page numbers are all off because you got 100 and whatever pages, 200 pages of the other book first.
Addison just commented, thrift books online has great deals normally on materials.
I'm so glad I asked you to do camera, because that was valuable information. Thank you, Addison, for watching us homesick in bed and providing this information. I appreciate it. So get with Rev Sue Ellen. That class starts next Wednesday, right?
Right.
And it's virtually at 6 p.m. on
Yes,
Zoom.
on Zoom.
So talk to Reverend Dr. Sue Ellen, if you are interested in joining that class. Next Saturday, at the brewery over there, we're going to be having Golden Girls Trivia. I've been talking about this for some time, and now it's officially happening. So join us at Golden Girls Trivia next Saturday at 3 p.m. And next month, I wanted to start letting y'all know that in this space, Jesse Powers is hosting a concert. And so like I said, in regards to the things that we're doing, bringing attention to other people, Jesse Powers just texted me and was like, I'm going on a tour. I want to come to Oklahoma City. And then she said, I found a ticket for $111 to Oklahoma City. Am I buying it? And I was like, yes, buy it, and we'll figure it out. So we figured it out. This is the space. Jessie Powers is an incredible performer. Her music on streaming services doesn't necessarily do her justice. The To Remember album does. That's her latest thing, and obviously like money and time and work went into that one. Where the first album, like I was like, oh, I'm cool with this, but then I heard it live and it was a whole nother experience. So highly recommend you mark your calendars for Wednesday, March 5th, 7 p.m. in this space right here.
We may
Free
have a new
concerts.
class.
Bring your friends.
Cool.
The foundations class might be here to turn up, might be part of
No,
the curriculum.
We'll just make it be it, move the class.
Okay, so that's what's going on. And right after, so that's happening Wednesday, March 5th. And the following Sunday after that is when things change in here. This is when our time changes. The community has agreed to move from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. starting March 9th. So that's going to be daylight savings time. When we are springing forward, you get to just enjoy the fact that you lost an hour and like take your time to get here and then like reorient. So it's like, because we've got our whole like time reset, we're just going smoothing in with that time. So 1 p.m. is when we're meeting, but I got some great news for y'all. Deanna Reed is going to be doing sound baths beforehand. So from 12:30 to 12:45 right in here, you can get some meditation and some sound bath, and then we're going to get spiritually uncuffed at 1 o'clock starting March 9th. That's the deal. Other thing in March is we've got a leadership retreat coming up. So if you're somebody who wants to have a voice in the community, maybe you don't have like a specific role, but you care about what we're doing and you want to be involved in crafting or deciding whether we've got a new vision and mission statement, we're going to be doing some leadery stuff around the vision and direction of who we are and what we're doing and how we're showing up. And that's going to be at Reverend Dr. Sue Ellen's house over the solstice weekend. So feel free to mark your calendars and ask for more information about that. And the last thing I'm going to say before we go into we'll do a 15-minute sound bath, is I am offering a Making Peace with Your Inner Shit Talker community space. I've developed a 90-day program that the whole thing was absolutely spirit-led. I knew I was writing a book, but I didn't know what it was going to be and what it was going to be about. And what it ended up being about was making peace with your inner shit talker and a 90-day program. And what I've learned about 90-day self-guided programs is they're a lot easier to do in community than by yourself. So information about all of our events is on unitedlife.org, and that's what's up. Any questions before we go into our sound bath? All right, way to be. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sound bath out and just bleary-eyed our ways out of here into a leadership council meeting.
Float away. Well, welcome in everyone. Just get nice and comfortable. If you want to be on the ground and be more grounded with the earth, you're more than welcome to. There's mats, there's pillows. But I just encourage you, in whatever pose or form you want, just allow it to be nice and comfortable, where you can hold some stillness for about 15 minutes or so. And so I'll guide us through a meditation themed around what we have shared and connected with today. Absorb, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and yeah, we'll get started here. So, just start to draw your attention, your awareness into your breath, and the breath isn't forced, it's not manipulated, it just naturally flows however it wants to. And as the breath naturally flows however it wants to, the body starts to relax a little bit more. Maybe the mind starts to soften, or we're just less attached to the thoughts that come and go through the headspace. If you're struggling with keeping the mind soft and quiet, try to embody the space that you hold for the breath. We're not attached to the breath or the way that it flows in or flows out, but we know it exists, it's there. The same concept goes for the thoughts that come and go through the headspace. We know they exist, but we don't have to get wrapped up in those thoughts, at least not right now. You might gently start to close the eyes. Just let yourself fully arrive in this moment. There's nothing to do, there's nowhere to be. We're just vibing and existing with the gentle rhythm of our breath, guiding us back to home within the self. With each inhale, feel a sense of expansion as if you're opening to something vast and timeless. And with each exhale, let go of any tension, any resistance, any illusion of separateness. As you clear the space with the breath, you might silently repeat to yourself, as I breathe in, I'm fully arriving in my body. And as I breathe out, I soften into presence. And bring your awareness to your heart space, right in the center of the chest, the center of your being. As you draw your awareness to the heart space, maybe you start to imagine a warm, radiant light glowing there. Light of pure wholeness. This light is always present, always whole, no matter what storms may pass through your life. And as you breathe, this light, it starts to expand. It's filling up the whole chest and flowing through the arms, down the spine, to the legs, until every part of you is illuminated by this essence of wholeness, by your light. And knowing that you are a complete expression of life itself. You might repeat to yourself, as I breathe in, I remember my wholeness. In my true nature. Now sense the space around you. Feel the air touching your skin. your own wholeness, you help others remember theirs. By honoring yourself, you make space to honor the world. As you breathe in, you might say to yourself, I embody love. And as you breathe out, you might say, I share this love with the world. Rest in this awareness for a few more breaths, knowing that this deep presence, this light, is always within you. You know that you can always return to it at any time. Carry this light with you as you move through your day. Speak, act, and breathe from this place of wholeness, knowing that as you do, you are helping to create a world that reflects that same deep, loving harmony within you. You might feel vibrations from the sound bowls near or far. If you do, maybe you envision those vibrations dissolving any lingering things that don't serve you. Realigning you in harmony, and love, and balance. resides in the space of stillness, connection with the self. When we're able to connect to the self, our love, we can then express that love outwards to all that we connect with, creating more harmony, love, oneness, interconnectedness in this world. That's where the profound healing takes place. It starts with us. Starts with connecting with the heart, and then it bleeds from there. Might start to deepen the breath. The toes, wiggle the fingers. Just gently come back into the space.
I am so grateful that each one of us has shown up for this moment. I'm grateful for the shift that takes place in Oklahoma City because we have said yes to it. I'm grateful for the spiritual food each one of us has received. And I'm grateful for who we are and the world is becoming as a result of it. And in gratitude, I invite us to affirm this prayer with whatever word or phrase resonates most. I choose to close by saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
Ashe, thanks y'all. Yeah, go ahead and finish.
Yes.
That was great.